everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. It's been a minute since I've been on. I've been dealing with some health stuff, but hey, I think things are good now. I think that we're on the right track here. Excited to be back. And to celebrate, we have a campaign that we're going to kick off tonight.
Do we?
Today?
We have like 5 campaigns going on right now.
No, this is the meme. This is the meme campaign. All right, so y'all might have heard that there's a basketball player in the NBA named Blake Griffin. I went to high school at the same time Blake Griffin did. We were in the same age. We were the same age. We were same class. We played each other in freshman basketball, and I stole the ball from Blake Griffin. As the clock was running down, he was basically just trying to run out the clock on the first half or what. I don't even remember. Yeah, it was one of the, where he was just like holding the ball, waiting to go get the last shot at the end or whatever, dunk on us. And then I stole the ball because he was like looking over at his coach and not paying attention, and I felt so cool. However,
so you didn't
Blake
steal
Griffin,
the ball from him while he was playing.
Well, no, he was playing basketball, but like, you know, he was trying to run. He wasn't like trying to go past me. You know, he was just like trying to kill the last 20 seconds, and I was pressuring him. It was normal basketball play, but it was like that was just the context of it. You know, it wasn't like I picked a pass he threw or something, right? I actually took the ball from him. I was very proud of myself. So, you know, Blake Griffin went on to play in the NBA, make hundreds of millions of dollars, jump over that sort of thing. And, you know, I went on to be me and do this podcast. So, really, the moral of that story is that I've basically been doing much better than Blake Griffin for most of our lives. And he got me back recently. I think this is safe to spoil now, but episode 3 of Game of Thrones season 8, Battle of Winterfell, that was the big one, right? And I was coming back from London, and I was sick and feeling crappy, and all I got stuck in the airport, and I was just going to sit down and watch Game of Thrones. And my phone sent me a message from Twitter. Highlight from Twitter you might have missed. Blake Griffin tweets, Arya with the hand, like switching hands with the dagger, like pulling the MJ. And that was a highlight that Twitter pushed as a push notification to my phone. I didn't opt in, like I didn't seek this out. I was literally trying to stay off social media. And I was like, okay, well, I can kind of guess what this means, you know? So then that episode was ruined for me. So Blake Griffin got me back all these years later. However, it is still true that I stole the ball from Blake Griffin. And it is true that with the power of this podcast, we can put out a call for Blake Griffin to rematch me. One-on-one.
In what, Game of Thrones spoilers? Like, I don't...
He can come on this podcast. I would take him on in cornhole. I went to a cornhole tournament last weekend. Now, it was at a Buffalo Wild Wings. However, I went to the wrong location, so I didn't actually play in a cornhole tournament. But I went to one. I would take him on in perhaps bocce ball.
So any non-athletic competition and any non-intellectual competition.
I'll take him on in an intellectual competition. Do you think he wants to play a game of Arena?
How about bar
trivia? See? Blake Griffin, I will come to you, my man. I know you've got a busy life. I know that, I don't know, you play for Detroit now. You guys actually were okay for a hot minute last year. You know, I understand that your knees are going out. I played basketball tonight and my body hurt too. I understand. Rough, man. So I propose that we don't want to play basketball because I wouldn't want to, for either of us to get injured and to hurt our respective careers by a basketball injury in a pickup game. So I don't know, bocce ball, table tennis, I don't know, maybe shuffleboard. These are all options on the table.
Yeah, just meet at the local retirement home and shuffle it out there, I guess.
Now, Corbin, are you going to be coming to GP Detroit? Because if we can get him to respond by next week, that's something you can...
If Blake Griffin agrees to this after everyone in this podcast tweets at him, which I believe would be at Blake Griffin. Let's find out. Oh, it's at Blake Griffin 23.
Because he thinks he's Michael Jordan?
Well, I mean, he's the right age, right? We all grew up wanting to be number 23, except not me. 30. It seems like Blake doesn't
like
tweet
33
much.
Now?
I'm 31. I played basketball tonight for the first time in a while, actually. Okay. Anyway, so there you go, everybody. At Blake Griffin 23. And welcome to the show. We're going to talk M20 tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about vending. We're going to try this whole 5 under 5 sort of thing. If we can, at least we'll see how the set shakes out.
Us like regular podcast.
I'm Corbin, the guy who will be a future lawn bowling champion over Blake Griffin. Might follow that up with a round of Mancala.
I'm more impressed that you can just name all these awful games.
They're dad games, man. I can keep going
consecutively.
Why don't you hype up the danger and get lawn darts involved? It's a banned game, so neither one of you was able to practice because lawn darts are banned.
Okay, we could play darts.
What's the one?
Not darts.
I know.
Lawn darts.
What's the game where you have like a bola and then you have to like throw it across the lawn at like graduation parties and like spin it
and wrap it around a? I don't actually know what that's called. I don't actually know what that game's called.
It's probably if cornhole's any indication, it's probably something like these are called the stripper, and you throw it around the pole.
That's probably about right.
It's called pole dancer.
I'm actually not very good at that game. If you want to have like how about this? This is vaguely athletic, Blake Griffin. Let's throw a football. Let's have a football tossing competition. I was on a Southwest Airlines plane recently, and one of the only things I could do on that plane was watch live TV. And they were showing, NFL Network was showing like an old 2003 quarterback skills competition. So how about we do something like that? We'll throw the football at things a long way away. That's athletic.
You're gonna get blocked by an NBA player and lose us listeners at the same time.
I'd actually consider it a success if Blake Griffin were to block me. Just for the record,
I think he'll just ignore it. When Blake Griffin moved to Detroit, all the people in the comedy community said, "Hey, Blake Griffin, we know that you're doing time at the Comedy Store in LA. We think that's cool. What if you came to one of our shows?" Just as a joke, but like a lot of us, and he just ignored all of us. So I think if we're going to get Blake Griffin to play Corbin at Cornhole, I think we need to really amp up the campaign. And I think we need all of our listeners to get involved. Blake Griffin 23. And hey, speaking of campaigns, we got a TeeSpring, and my hoodie just came in time for GP Detroit. And it's got the new logo. Yeah, isn't that sexy? I'm holding it up for the camera for those of you who got the YouTubes.
The premium hoodie is very soft.
Yeah.
Like, unnecessarily soft. You're like...
Yeah. It smells like salt and vinegar chips for some reason. And it's not like, I bet you just have salt and vinegar chips in your house. No, that's not true. They smell like salt and vinegar, which could be a selling point.
Or a chemical leak at the
hoodies, get your t-shirts. Well, whatever. They seem to have their act together at TeeSpring, based on our dealings with them. Yeah, so that's just a thing you can do. You don't have to, but like we have a new logo, and that's available on shirts and hoodies, and that's something you didn't have before. So that's a thing. These hoodies are very soft. I went with the premium, but if you get this like the regular Gildan hoodies, they're comfy also. Ooh, there you go. That's good. So that's really. I don't need to pitch the Patreon too much. Just, we have a Patreon. And we have a podcast.
Let's do it. Let's do Breaking Bulk.
Yes. Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
Who would like to go first?
Magic Origins Blue Common. I'll throw a softball.
Isn't it the only one?
Yeah, the new popper card, or the new popper. Is it the fairy?
Yes.
Miscreants. Yep. Yeah. Since it's a popper, now that they've got the other 1-drop fairy that scries too, so it's like giving a resurgence to like Spellsetter Sprite decks.
Yes. I mean, also Mystic Remora became legal.
Yeah, what's up with that? Explain that to people who don't know.
So the cards that were it was based on Moto legality, so there were some cards that were common in paper, but when they got printed in whatever set they were on Moto, they were not common. So since it was the Moto legality determined the legality of the card, there were some commons like Oubliette and like Mystic Remora that just like weren't legal
was legal
in Pauper.
Yes.
Was it? Okay.
That was
that
the
card
thing,
still
was that like
expensive?
Oubliette is uncommon in paper, but common online in vintage.
What was?
And that's why it was
I
20
think
bucks.
Sinkhole.
Sinkhole,
Was
Yeah,
no, Sinkhole was a
Sinkhole-
weird one because like people would start building pauper decks after hearing what they're like. It's all commons, and then they'd go to Gather and be like, Sinkhole's a common, not on the banned list. But Sinkhole was not on the banned list, but it was not common online, which was like the trick.
Right.
Same with him. Same with him.
that's
That's
why
Turok.
Sinkhole-
It's like those were.
And now, what were those cards played heavily on in either paper or online?
Well, they. If you yeah, that's
They
the
weren't
thing. Is
legal.
if you played paper,
Okay, so-
there was like a agreed upon paper ban list that included those
I
cards,
see.
and if you played online, they just weren't legal. So they have
I
unified the
see.
list and said it can be legal in common, legal if it's common in paper or online, and then they officially added him and Sinkhole to the ban list,
to the ban,
along with
So Mystic Remora.
there's one other
managed
card
to
I think they
sneak
added to
through.
the ban list too. I just can't.
there was one other. I'll look real quick. Okay, so
But
what
my
that
breaking
means
bulk
then
is Fairy
is that
Miscreant because it's worth money and you should pick it out of bulk because Magic Origins is a set where people are like, I got all the Sphinx's tutelage, here you go, and then you pull them out. So Magic Origins.
the other
is
card was
expensive.
High Tide,
Yes.
by the way. Yeah, so I mean, it's really interesting that Pauper is now an officially sanctioned format. We were running Pauper at my store on Thursdays, and it's done okay. You know, I think it fires most weeks. But now it's actually, you know, you could F&M Pauper. You could have an IQ for Pauper. You know, you could have an MCQ in Pauper. You could have a GP for Pauper. These are all options on the table now.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting. I mean, we saw the big spike in Pauper cards last year.
And I mentioned that too. That was a segment I did a while back where I think I also did a brain bite on it where I basically just said like, look, Pauper's a format, and it is a format that is within the realm of possibility to get sanctioned. And if and when it does, you want to own those cards in advance. So like, you don't want to be the person who's grabbing $18 Delvers at a GP booth. If there is ever a GP for Pauper, you want to be the person who is trading away those copies of like Goblin Grenade or what's the stupid Krark Clan Pyroclasm. Basically, it's like the Affinity Wrath of God. You want to be the person selling those staples after they spike, not picking them up for very high prices.
What is that card called now? You got me thinking about it. The Affinity Pyroclasm.
It's Krark Clan something. It's a 1/1 goblin. I don't need to know the.
Oh, I was thinking of the. Okay, I was thinking of the like.
You're thinking of
2
Whip
damage
Flare,
non-artifact
which is
creatures.
uncommon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. I don't.
No,
remember. I'm not. I don't.
The one I'm thinking of. It's a 1-mana 1/1 goblin. Just says sack an artifact, deal 1 damage to all non-artifact
Gotcha.
creatures. Or no,
Yeah,
I think it's
Pauper
not flying
knowledge-
creatures. It's not flying creatures.
My Pauper knowledge comes from the articles on Channel Fireball about it. I haven't actually really ever. I think last time I played Pauper, Storm was legal, and I mean like the original, like familiar Storm back in the day, like a decade ago. That's the one time I think I've ever played Pauper, and it was pretty fun.
Was Cloud of Fairies legal back then?
Oh, it was. The whole thing, I think the whole thing was legal, or maybe they had banned one of the finishers, so now the finisher was like Temporal Fissure or whatever. But
Fissure.
Yeah, whatever
not
but,
bounces
yeah.
the. Oh, you just
but it
bounce the
didn't
whole
matter.
board.
All the Storm
Fissure.
cards were still legal. Yeah, Fissure.
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 Yeah,
Not Fisher.
I
No,
understand.
not Fisherman. Fissure.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what he said. He said Fisher.
Fisherman.
Fissure.
All right, I've got one.
Fissure. Fisher.
I got one for you guys. I assume this is a Pauper thing as well, but it's a Modern Horizons 1, MH1, a Modern Horizons land that was originally printed in, I think, Eldritch Moon.
I think you're thinking of Warped Landscape. That was
Shadows.
Shadows over
Shadows.
card.
It was in Shadows. Yep, and it is Warp Landscape. Is this a Pauper card?
No.
So this is just worth money because it's just fixing?
Yeah, I mean it's just it's a Terramorphic Expanse that comes in untapped basically. But you just have to pay a little bit
Kinda.
to crack it later. It's also just like a command. It's a budget commander card, right? Like it's the same vein
Yeah.
of those cards where people are like budget commander deck, $30, buy it now, and then like these are the cards that go up because of that because they're just like you have little 14-year-old Johnny buying cards on Amazon with his mom's credit card, and then
I met some of those people actually. We had 2 kids in the store the other day, like I don't know, probably 15.
I mean, like I used to be that kid, so I get like my
it
first
was
experience buying Magic cards over the internet was when I was like 13 or 14, and I was going to, I think it was like MTG First Fire or something like that.
Well, it was MTG Goldfish.
No,
like
this
3
was
years
before
ago.
Goldfish. It was like some weird back alley website, and it was just like I would purchase like 1 or 2 of every card from like the guild symbols from Ravnica City of Guilds through Dissension, because I wanted to collect all 10 of the guild decks. I was like, I'm gonna make a Selesnya deck, I'm gonna make a Dimir deck, and I had a budget, so all my decks were like under $30. So it was like I could only have like 1 privileged position, 1 of these cards, but like 2 or 3 Selesnya Guild Mage. Like this is those people are the reason Warped Landscape is like $1 or $2.
Yep. And well, yeah, and the thing is, it's $1 even after 2 printings. I was in Commander 2018 most recently, so definitely one of those. You should actually be able to find this card.
Yeah, nobody knows this card is worth money.
Jason, what do you got?
I have. What set is that? Rivals of Ixalan. It is a Rivals of Ixalan black creature.
Choopy?
Is it the 1/2 vampire?
Is it Chupacabra?
That's
It is not Chupacabra, and it is not a vampire at all.
What did you say it was? It's a black creature?
It's a black creature from Rivals of Ixalan.
Common or uncommon?
Uncommon.
Sadistic, whatever?
Nope.
Oh, it's a vampire anyway.
This one really surprised me as well.
If it's not a vampire and it's not Chupacabra, I actually don't know what it is. At least not by name.
Pitiless Plunderer.
The
treasure pirate, yeah.
Whenever a creature you control dies, create a colorless treasure token. Like a $1 retail. On Card Kingdom, what is on a TCG player? 75 cents.
There you go.
You know, this is a card that's going to buy a list for 50 cents or like maybe up to like $1 maybe a year or so from now. And you'll be like, what did that happen? Well, it happened because, Teysa, I guess, maybe. And now you have Yawgmoth.
Yawgmoth seems to be a big deal.
Yep. So this card's pretty busted. And I get these in bulk all the time just because people like, yanked out all the stuff. So I think this card goes up as the rest of that set goes down. So, like, if you're buying bulk from that set, it's going to be like a lot of the stuff like Wild Growth Walker from that block is going to like tank that rotation.
No, here's the thing about that though. They announced Historic this week, and Historic is for now an arena only format. But when we hit rotation, I mean, I'm not saying the cards aren't going to tank or whatever, but when we hit rotation, Historic is going to exist. It's going to be an arena only format, but everything's an online only format until it's not, right? So if it takes off, I mean, you can guarantee that Wizards will do it, and that makes it really interesting because that makes Amonkhet way less interesting than Ixalan, despite, when the 2 sets were in standard, Ixalan was by far the weaker that no one cared about. But I mean, there's a lot of staples from Ixalan that could be in this new format, because that format is standard, right? That could be really interesting. So just, we'll see how that plays out, but it might mean something, it might mean something for something like Wild Growth Walker, which would very much be, an answer to a theoretical red deck in the Historic format. So food for thought. I don't know if I have strong opinions on it or not, but they needed to do something for rotation on Arena, so we'll see. All right, moving on. Core Set 2020. Are you guys excited? After all, it has been, 10 days since we did the pre-release for Modern Horizons?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing another set review. We didn't really want to do it this week. We just wanted to do a normal episode this week and just talk a little bit about what to do going into the pre-release, and then when we have a little bit more data, I think next week's the time You know, because like the obvious stuff's going to be obvious. You know, don't buy Planeswalkers. Yeah. So
let's.
I think we can give some general advice that we're going to give on every set, and I think we're going to talk about. We're going to do a 5 under 5 this week, and we're going to do a different 5 under 5 next week. But I think we're going to just do the set review after the pre-release. I think you'll have a little bit more data, and I think it'll be like when people are starting to build stuff. So.
Well, yeah, and I think it took us a very long time to get here, but this is what we should have been doing all along, right? The world has moved on, especially the finance world, but the Magic world, from break the card before the set comes out and your podcast figured it out because you're so smart. Like, that's just not even the kind of cards we go after anyways. So we were really just serving nobody the way we were.
7 years just on.
We were
but 7 years ago, like, that was how it was done. Even 5 years, whatever, like 4 years, that was how it was done. We're just old and it took us a while. But like, if we were approaching it, I think, without any preconceived notion of what it should be, I just don't think we would ever land on what we.
6 years ago, I was like on Monday looking at deck lists from the weekend, from like the Legacy Classic, and writing up stuff I thought could potentially go up over.
And no one would pay attention.
And now that
for
shit's
week.
going up Friday. Yeah. So it's a different.
It's just a different world. All right, so let's talk about this before we talk about specifics. A tweet sent to us by Chris Gertsizer at Beer of Nylea. I like that name. Hey, can you guys talk about the next cast about how hyping Core Set 20 during the release of Horizons will affect Horizons prices? Seems like everyone's moved on. Well, they have. They have, and Horizons prices are already going up. Yep. The set has bottomed. The set bottomed a week ago. The set bottomed 2 weeks ago. Like, nobody cared.
People aren't done drafting it, but they kind of are.
The set is a gold mine. People like we're trying to, like, because of how many sets are coming out and how many things we're trying to prepare for as a store. Like, we're not just sitting on a bunch of product for that, but like, I'm just gonna buy myself some boxes and keep them because the set is sweet.
Now, here's something we didn't really anticipate before, but there's something that came up at the shop this week, which is, how do you price a Modern Horizons draft? It's a $6 booster pack, so that's sort of unprecedented. Okay, so it's a $7 booster pack. They've never really done a set like that. There's like been like, oh, you're gonna.
There was Modern Horizons 1.
I mean,
Modern Horizons 1 was
Modern Masters 1 was also a $7 booster pack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what I said.
For
Modern Masters 1 was $7.
Yeah, so stores are like, we can't really do a $20 draft.
It's hard.
So what our store is doing is they're doing a $20 draft, but they're not pricing out in Modern Horizons packs, which I think is a good, like, happy medium, because like, I don't want them to take a bath pricing out in Modern Horizons packs, so they're just pricing out in store credit or packs of like War of the Spark.
We actually randomly fired a Horizons draft last week. We had like half of the crowd, because everyone was at the GP in Dallas from Oklahoma City, so we had instead of 35 people, we had 20 people at the store. So we had people split between wanting to do War of the Spark because it was cheap, or wanting to play Modern. And in the end, we decided to play Modern and draft Horizons. So I'd say it worked out great for us. But so it's just what people want. Like, but is it a
$30 draft, or is it a $20 draft?
We just asked people, it's like, tough. How do you want us to do this? Do you like, how do you guys want the price support? Most of them say, I think we charge 25, but I don't even remember. We might have even charged 20.
You probably charge 25 because that's like that. Yeah, that's the one.
I haven't done the math. I think those packs cost us like $4.50 each, maybe $4.
Yeah,
because
so they cost you $4.50. You can't do it.
I think it was $180. I think it's $180 a box for 36 or whatever. So yeah, geez, they're expensive.
So stores are kind of trying to figure it out. So like the fact that it's a little bit more expensive than Core Set. It's a pretty miserable draft experience also.
What?
So like, I don't know that people are going to want to do it.
No way, man.
You're wrong.
It's a goofy ass set.
It is a goofy set, and that's why it's great. It's going to be so fun in 2 years or whatever to
like
bust out
franchise drafters, sure, but
that's
like,
what
how much of your
for.
LGS is? Yeah, well, I mean, maybe your LGS is blessed with loads of enfranchised drafters, and you fire 4 pods a night. But like most stores, it's a struggle to get an 8-person pod.
No, I mean that's how we are too. But generally, it's not the inexperienced players who draft, anyways, right? It's the experienced and franchise ones, because they're the ones willing to spend the money. But regardless, it's going to be very fun to bust it out in 2 years. And, you know, there's also, it seems like the lands seem to have settled at 75 cents to $1. That's going to create, you know, in addition to everything else, right? That's a $1 bill in every pack at a minimum, you know? And that probably matters.
I don't think this...
Well, the first thing I ever did in MTG Finance was unglued boxes.
Yeah.
Or not unglued,
Unhinged.
unhinged. The second set. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the boxes were like $50 on eBay because like the set was trash. So you would be like, well, there's like a $3 or $4 land in every set, except like the foils, which are like 10 to 15.
Right.
So like you actually can't go wrong buying those boxes at 50. So I was just buying boxes at $50 on eBay and just like popping them left and right and, you know, selling all those lands. And that was like the first thing I did in finance. And I made, you know, quite a bit of money doing that when I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was a good time. So
to answer your question,
anytime you have built-in money in a pack, that makes the boxes more attractive.
Yeah. So to answer your question,
well, I didn't think snow-covered lands were guaranteed. They're commons. They're not the basic land slot. So.
Oh, I was unaware.
That's how it was in Cold Snap too. Like you have to. They're not. You're not guaranteed snowlands, dude.
Never.
We are guaranteed an art card.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't. I guess I just see them in the majority of packs or whatever it feels like. So you just assume that they're in them.
Did you not open any packs?
I didn't open any for the store. No.
But you did a draft, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
you don't. I'm drafting to draft, not be like, is there Snowland in every single pack?
But you
just feel like you see Snowlands.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe you write down every card in every.
No,
pack.
but like if you're drafting the set and you care about snow, you should care about how many snows you like.
The 2 drafts I did not.
If you don't see a single Snowland throughout the packs, you're like, I guess I'm not going snow.
Yeah, I hadn't had that experience. I drafted like goblins and. Well, then there's slightly less than 1 a pack, or whatever the math. But anyways, I mean, the set is just loaded, and they're going to go back up. Like everything in the set is bottomed out. You know, my pick of the week a couple weeks ago was Ice Fang total, and I still like that. We've seen a fair amount of Horizons cards, even past the ones you're thinking of. You know, seen them in decks, so gonna I think have a big impact for a long time. All right, but let's move on back to let's go back to Core Set 2020. Most expensive card in the set right now is Leyline of the Void.
Yeah, and it'll be cheaper
for good
in
reason.
A month.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say how they did on all the Leylines in terms of power level or whatever, but these feel like cards are going to keep reprinting and they're going to keep being worth money.
I think they're different cards for different people.
Yeah, I mean, Leyline of the Void and Leyline of Sanctity, like those are that's the Crucible worlds of the set, right? That's the way I look at it.
Because when I did my set review for cool stuff, I felt like the only Leyline I really cared about was the green one. But like, I mean, the blue Leyline obviously is nuts in Commander.
It's also
it's not new.
Yeah, I love Leyline of Anticipation coming out of the gates at $5. Pick these up at $3 or something all day long a month from now. But yeah, I mean, so
I actually like.
Let's talk about. Go ahead.
I actually like Embodiment of Agonies, which is a card I talked about a couple weeks ago. It is probably the most unique card in the set because it references a mechanic that has never been touched before, which is the number of different mana costs of non-land cards in your graveyard. And by that, the reminder text in the card is 2 and a black is different than 1 and 2 black. So, like, Phyrexian Arena...
So it's not CMC, it's
correct.
It's
Phyrexian Arena is different than...
You can't name a 2 and a black card, can you?
That was... But, like, Surgical Extraction is different.
Necropotence.
Yeah, Surgical Extraction is different than Thoughtseize, which I think is the big one. Like, there's a lot of different mana costs in Modern. There's Manamorphose, which is different than Pyretic Ritual. There's so many different, like, weird hybrid mana costs are different, like... And just all these multicolored cards, and like this just seems like a card where like it cares about stuff in your graveyard, a la Tarmogoyf, and it's got flying, and this just seems like the kind of card where you play it on turn 2 or 3, and then it's an 8/8, and then Wizard scratches their heads and wonders why they made it. So like maybe it's garbage, maybe it's a bulk rare, but cards that explore a new design space.
This dies to Bajuka Bug. It does. It's not a 0/1. It's a 0/0.
I mean, only if like they bog you beforehand, right? Like if you load your graveyard and slam it, and they're sitting with a bog in their hand, like it doesn't lose the counters. It's not like it's based on the number of cards in your graveyard all the time. It just comes in with the number of counters based on those symbols that were in the graveyard at the time that it was cast. So, like you could argue like Hogak dies to Bojuka Bog, but that card's still pretty alright.
Yeah, or it's not, that card's not going to be all right for
no, that card's getting banned, and when it does, I think there are other graveyard synergies that will continue to flourish in Modern, and obviously
Alter is broken.
Yes, but like Embodiment of Agonies is not the it's not Hogak power level, but I mean when right. When that strategy obviously is removed from the format, then like there will be room for other graveyard cards, and like this is a $3 card. If it goes to $2, I do not fault anyone at all for buying multiple play sets for $10 a pop. Like this card just seems like it's got a lot of words on it.
It's the most expensive card in my 5 under 5 for sure.
It's got a lot of words.
It's like the only thing above $2.
And it's a 4/, and it could be a standard card. I don't think it's a standard card. I think that there's a lot more mana symbols in Modern, but like you got a lot of stuff going on with this thing.
Yeah, but this is a 4/4 in Standard. That's actually really good. A 4/4 Death Touch for 3 flying.
Maybe, yeah.
All right. Well, I've got 5 under 5. I'm ready.
So I mean,
how do we want to do these? Do we want to just name ours one by one here?
Well, I mean, DJ did one of mine, and I assume one of his.
Yeah. I also assume. All right. Well, I'll just jump in. We'll just
why don't you just rattle one off? We'll just do it that way.
Well, I mean, I mentioned Leyline of Anticipation. It does count. It's $4.90 market, but I mean that one's kind of a gimme. That's just one of the ones I want to pick up. But here's one.
Well, I think Leyline of Anticipation goes cheaper than it is now. I think you wait till the absolute. I wouldn't buy it now.
But that's true with like every card in the set.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, a lot of times you just lose more money, especially when it comes to like trading at a pre-release weekend or something. You lose more money waiting on the floor of a card than not, because like more and more we're seeing people just realize like a card just flips a switch and it goes from bottoming out to jumping $1 again, and then you're like,
and if
you're
not checking multiple times a day like I do, like you don't.
And then by that point it's like going back up, and no one wants to get rid of them. Like, just get them, you'll be fine. But here's one I think is a little more out there, but I'm legitimately pretty hype about. Marauding Raptor. It's $1.50 market price right now. I did some of the core 2020 early access streaming event with Fishcast MTG today. You can go check that out. Cody and Matt, they do a really great podcast all about Merfolk. It's really cool. But we got trashed multiple times by decks going turn 2. We played against Kibler today, as a matter of fact, and he went turn 2 Marauding Raptor. Turn 3, well, I don't know if this was him, but this is the thing that happened to us. Somebody else doing the same thing. Turn 3, Ripjaw Raptor, which is the 4/5. So Marauding Raptor, if you don't know, it's a 2/3 for 2. The creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, it takes 2 damage from the Marauding Raptor. And if it's a dinosaur, Marauding Raptor gets +2 on the turn. So they play turn 2 Marauding Raptor, turn 3 Ripjaw Raptor, it's a 4/5. It gets dealt damage by Marauding Raptor. They draw a card because it has Enrage. Then Marauding Raptor attacks for 4. Then they play Regisaur Alpha on turn 3 and attack you for $1 billion.
Turn 4.
Yeah, sorry, turn 4. And attack you for $1 billion. And this card's $1.50. So like, I don't know. You know,
it's got some Dino synergy for
right,
Dino
and whether
Shore.
that becomes a deck or not in standard, or
I feel like that's
historic or whatever.
I feel like that's
it's
so narrow though.
It is super narrow, but
like 4 of standard rares we've seen continue. Like even if it's a 4 of standard rare, it's still like $1 or $2.
Yeah, but like it's it's $1.50 right now. You know, like there's not a lot of downside here because it also just has a generic creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast on a 2-drop,
Heartless
which is
Summoning
itself
has
a powerful.
that, and it's not great.
Yeah, Heartless Summoning has a drawback. It's also not a creature.
I will not invest in another dinosaur since Rampaging Ferocidon. I put a lot of money into that and got my dick ripped off. So I'm not ready to love again.
Look, it's really cheap.
Jason smashed all of his Land Before Time DVDs. It was a big thing.
DVDs, VHSs, threw them right out the window.
Why would I have done a DVD?
Because you have a 3-year-old.
That would be like in Bears. What? Well, DVDs don't exist anymore, DJ.
What?
Like, no one Jason, when's the last time you bought a DVD for your kid?
For my kid, I have Netflix.
Exactly.
She watches the PBS app.
Exactly.
She's learning to read. She's not learning to cry when a dinosaur's dino mom dino dies. Oh, you're sad about Littlefoot's mom? Guess what? Littlefoot got wiped out like a year later. All the dinosaurs died. All of them.
I thought you were going to take
They're in our gas tank right now.
And you're gonna die too.
I thought you were gonna take that to a much darker place based on the Land Before Time reference.
No, she's not gonna die. Her mother's gonna die, and she's gonna watch. Everybody watches their parents die.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky and don't, it's not the other way around. So, lucky, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, no, I haven't bought her any DVDs.
Yeah, go ahead.
How about for $2? I kind of like Golos Tireless Pilgrim, because in
what's
addition,
it do?
Well, it's when it comes into play, you search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tap, and shuffle your library. So it sort of functions kind of like a sad robot in that regard. But it is a legendary scout, and it's got 5 mana colors in its. So it's a 5 mana general. You pay 2 in Wooburg, exile the top 3 cards of your library. You can play them this turn without paying their mana cost. I think foils of this are going to be pretty nuts because this is a really fun card, and unlike stuff like Joda, I think this is the most fun you can have with a 5-color deck.
Yeah, it does seem more fun than Joda. I've played against Joda a few times, and
I think this goes down from $2 probably. I'm not like going after these cash, but I think if this is a $2 card going into pre-release weekend and the foils are like 5-6, I think you lock those up.
It's also pretty neat. It does search for any land, which is nice from a colorless but 5-color commander.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
You can only, to clarify though, you could only play this in a 5-color deck?
Yeah.
Commander or not?
Yep, because it's got 5 colors in its color identity, which means it can only go in 5-color decks. But the good thing is it can get your Cascading Cataracts or your, what have you, whatever land you need for your fixing. So the fact
your
that
new Lotus Veil, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think most foil commanders tend to be very expensive when the set first comes out, and then they drop off. So
yeah, it's like if people are on it, you know.
I mean, like
sometimes they're just
Joda started out at 10, and the foil is like back to 10 now, but it went to 4 first.
Yeah,
and like
Joda was
started out at $30, and then it went to like 10, and like. How Petra started out all the foil legends always started expensive, and then they just
those strike me as obvious ones because they were new things. I haven't actually heard much buzz about this one, Jason. Are people excited about it, or is this just kind of you're looking at it and thinking it's good?
I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out what people are going to do before they do it, as opposed to this is my one pick that's not based on what people are actually saying.
Yeah.
This is my ballsier pick, but I think this card's nuts, and it's what I want to be doing in a 5-color deck versus something like Joda, which I think is kind of boring.
All right.
Or
Who's got the next
I
one?
think Ramos is boring too.
What's next? Who's got one? DJ, what's your next one?
The temples, which are the most tofu bland safe the temples are your Domino's order, Corbin. You're getting a 4 out of 10
and you're okay with it.
Yeah, you're okay with it. you're like, man, this doesn't feel great. It's not exciting. It's gonna give me horrible gastrointestinal issues later on. But like, you're still happy with it, right? And like, that's where the temples are. You're like, man, I had these 5 years ago, and they're the exact same thing, just like your wing order.
Well, the crazy thing about temples is that when they came out, everyone was like, these are trash. But they actually just kept going up in price, and now they're in standard, and every time we see lands going to standard, they just get more expensive.
Right, I mean, like, the shock lands hit, like, Temple Garden hit $3, and people are like, this is dead forever, and then it's more. So, like, all 5 enemy temples, I think that if you buy them, you will not regret it. They are just good. Lands are never bad. Especially when they're core set dual lands that will continue to be used in standard over the next 365 days. They're fine. Like, just get your get your play set for now, and 6 months from now, if you're like, man, I'm not feeling standard. I don't know why I got back into standard. I don't know why you did either, but at least you can sell your temples for more.
It's very succinct. All right, I got one here, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, and I'm choosing it because it's basically bulk rare status already. Legion's End. Exile target creature an opponent controls converted mana cost 2 or less, and all creatures with the same name. Then they reveal their hand and exile all cards with the same name from their hand and their graveyard. And it's $1 market price right now, which means it's going to be a bulk rare this weekend.
This card stays a bulk rare.
You think so?
This is like the Memoricide or like the Lost Legacy or like the...
But it's a removal spell.
That's fine.
So it's like Declaration in Stone, then?
But it's not, because that was the one I looked up, and Declaration in Stone is bulk. But Declaration in Stone gave your opponent clue tokens, so it gave them back the cards. This is not just... Like, this has... Not only does it have no downside, like Deck in Stone did, this has additional upside.
I mean, the downside is the casting restriction, right? Like, you...
Yeah, it's a sorcery. It's a sorcery. Instead of... And it's 2 or less.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it is... Especially in a world full of planeswalkers and other...
But what about in a world of, like... I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say with Modern right now, because Modern's not a real format until Hogak gets banned again.
I mean, like...
There's a lot of 1 and 2 drops in that format you want to hit. Like, I'll sure as hell hit a champion of the parish with it. You know? But I don't know. I don't know.
Like
that's why I'm throwing it out there.
A removal spell, like a single target removal spell that has restrictions that has been worth more than like $2 or $3. Because like the removal
Fatal Push.
What?
Fatal Push.
That doesn't have restrictions.
I mean, it does. Not even talking about the revolt, but like even in Modern, there's a lot of stuff it doesn't hit even with revolt.
So you think this is better than Fatal Push?
No, DJ, no one said that. Come on, but Fatal Push is like $5 as an uncommon. This is a bulk rare, you know. Like you said, if it goes to $2 or $3, then we've doubled or tripled up. That's why I was just curious on opinions on it, because it really struck me as powerful. Like, it struck me as a restriction that in Modern was pretty reasonable. But I don't know. It's hard to say, because there is also Delve creatures and Eldrazi and lots of things it doesn't hit. So I looked up something like, I also looked up, like Bedevil, Hero's Downfall, but those are definitely not as good of comparisons.
Ari Lax wrote a very, very good article on Modern threats and answers, and why Spellskite is basically garbage and unplayable nowadays. And it's because it costs twice as much mana as all the things that it's trying to answer.
It's a good...
And I feel the same way about this card.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I guess, like, basically, it's a bulk rare. So if you're taking a flyer on a 50-cent card to even up a trade, keep an eye on it.
We're trying to find shit under $5, man. You know how hard that is?
It's definitely not something I think is going to explode. It just, if it found any, even if it was sideboard play or whatever, it's real cheap. Anyways, moving on. Next card.
Nightpack Ambusher looks casually good.
Stop taking my cards, you fuck.
I'm going to not say my other one. I'm going to let you go next then, Jason.
This is like the Jeff Hooglandest card ever.
Wait, it hates WotC? Look at...
Ooh!
Oh.
Like, it's the kind of card where you play in, like, either a Simic or a Teamer deck where you just hold mana up. You play this EOT, and then you just, like, play a bunch of flash creatures and, like, spells and just ride your werewolf value into the sunset. Like, this... in some sort of like Simic or Teamer deck, this just seems really nuts, and it just seems like the kind of thing he was doing with Yeva and like Flash Werewolves and stuff like that when he was playing that with a bunch of counter magic.
I just like this card. For casual,
this. Well, that, but I honestly think this is standard playable. That was the card I was going to talk about next. You keep taking the, like I was gonna say Temples. I was going to say Ambusher.
Wait, is your next?
Well, it's good. It's good that we agree on.
I know
them,
you're
going to
take one of my other two, which pisses me
Field
off
of the
too.
Dead was Jason's next pick.
No, my next pick was
Field of the
Forge,
Dead
actually.
is sweet though.
I was going to talk about Forge.
Go ahead and talk about Forge then. Go ahead.
Forge is dumb. So, like, everybody likes Experimental Frenzy. This is like, I was playing Experimental Frenzy in Affinity, and Forge is just like better, but it's also good in a lot of other situations. You can pay a life to remove a whammy from the top and not have to blow the Forge up, and you can still draw a card for the turn, where Experimental Frenzy wouldn't let you draw. So this is just nuts. So you can always, you look at the top card of your library anytime, and you can cast the top card of your library if it's an artifact or a colorless non-land card. So like any colorless card you can cast. So if you put this in Affinity, you just like, just like, Mem Knights and all kind of shit off the top, and then if you play like a Ravager for 2 mana, and then you've played 2 or 3 extra cards in a turn, and like they just can't catch up. This is really good in EDH also,
Mm-hmm.
So like you can play colored artifacts with this in EDH, which is good too. So like like a Brea deck, where you've got stuff like Grand Architect and just crap like that. This is really good. This isn't a $2.50 card, I don't think, because I think in the decks where it's good, it's really good, and it's just one of those cards that's going to really impact EDH, and I think it's really underpriced right now. I think Mystic Forge is it's just really busted. Because I think people underestimated Experimental Frenzy, and look how good that was. And this is better in a lot of situations. Not all, but like in the decks where Experimental Frenzy is best, this is better.
Okay. Well, let's move on and talk about Tails In then, right? I know that's one you're big on.
That's one of mine, yeah.
Yeah. Mine as well. It seems great.
It's a greenless Void Slime. It's so dumb.
Well, what was... So there was Void Slime. That's what started this. This sort of trend of ability counters on top of conditional counters or whatever. What was the mono blue one they made after that? Holodesh one? I thought that was going to be a give me. I'll look it up just a second.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
I was going to look up the price of it. Oh, Disallow.
Yeah, but that's 3 mana.
Yeah, well, yeah, that one is just the functional... yeah, that's just
functionally better.
I believe that's just the functional Void Slime.
Yeah.
Spell ability. Yeah. That's the better. And so the point is that card is $4.50. Like Void Slime's obviously old, but this allows $4.50. It is mono blue. Blah blah blah. All of these things are
this
true.
allows $4 because it is very, very versatile.
Yes, but so is Tails End.
I think so. Well, as an EDH player, I feel like countering like the legendary stuff is going to keep them off of like the stuff that ends the game right then.
Do you
Like
want
their
this
commander.
and disallow?
Probably.
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
feel like
Maybe.
EDH is the format of I'm okay playing 1 more mana to have my card be much more versatile.
And yet people are playing Arcane Denial over 3 mana counters that are better hard counters. So
Yeah, I mean, the point is people play anything. There's also a recency bias, especially to Commander, given that it often serves as an intro format for people. What's going to happen is people are going to buy the Commander precons in August when they come out, and they're going to have these core set cards on them, and they're going to have them on their minds and whatever, and then they're going to be like, oh yeah, let's get that, and then they're going to put Tails in because it's sitting on the counter at their store, and then later they're going to discover Disallow, and they may also put that in or whatever, right? But I mean, this card is $2. It's $1.50 right now market price. Again, we're talking a card that by the time the pre-release rolls around this weekend, you're going to be getting for $1 in trade. And these core sets are not, especially when people can go back to Horizons in like a month or whatever, there's just not going to be a lot of the core set opened.
yeah,
So,
I think people are gonna preferentially draft Horizons when they can.
Yeah, and
Of
it's
course,
not
it'll
like
be
people
it'll be the set for a minute, but like it's not
Right.
that exciting.
people get tired. I mean, core sets are just boring to draft. I mean, this one looks better than last year's, but they just get they're just very simplistic Magic. They just get boring. It's a nice, refreshing change for me. I actually like the change of pace, especially after War of the Spark. But in a month, I'm going to want to do Horizons again, or in 2 weeks, All right, I think we got through mine. What else you guys have?
I think we got through the episode.
We got to do Pick of the Week, right?
Have we got to do Pick of the Week?
We do. So everyone, let us know what you think about that. I mean, we'll follow up next week with new cards that are under $5 / follow up and see how things are going. But honestly, that feels like everything else is very expensive and probably not going to go up. Just now, instead of taking an hour to say that, we've now said that.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
All right, who wants to go first? Pick of the week.
I've got one.
Okay.
Mine is based off of Modern Horizons being basically done with.
Yep.
I am picking this card. I would rather buy a lot of this card than I would Tail's End. It is also a blue card, and it is also rare, and it is Mirrored and Besieged. The card, not the set. Also, announcement to Wizards, please, 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 please stop naming cards after sets.
I like it.
Please.
It's terrible for SEO
name
and searching.
Three times they've done that.
Conflux, Future Sight, and Eventide.
Planar Chaos?
No, there is no Eventide.
What's the one I'm thinking of?
There's probably Mirrored and Besieged.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot.
Planar
There's
Chaos?
a lot too.
Yeah, I don't know
Time
how
Spiral.
many there are or not, but yeah, Time Spiral. They'll probably print a card called Ether Revolt at some point.
If they didn't already.
So tell us about Mirrored and Besieged, DJ. I mean, it's 85 cents right now. Are you thinking wacky combo deck or just casual?
It's big in Urza.
This is a card that goes number one. It goes in Urza. Number two, it goes in every other artifact commander, like Brea and stuff like that. Just because it's an alternate win condition, and people love their alternate win conditions, like mechanized production and all that shenanigans. This card doesn't even have. You don't even need to read the mirroring ability because it's not really relevant. You just read the win the game part, and then everybody's wheels start turning, and then their mouths start foaming, and then they click buy on this card one copy at a time, and it's 80 cents now, and it'll be like $2 a year and a half from now.
It's not you win the game as target opponent loses a game, which was the new thing they're doing now. They're not
Right? Yeah.
Like if you look at the
you're right.
better.
You're right. You execute one person at a time, and it creates sort of like a mini raid boss thing.
It's kind of
you
cool.
can also like kill the person farthest ahead at the table. And if like that's not you, you don't become the arch enemy. If you're setting up a combo to you win the game, you become arch enemy. Versus you setting up a combo to kill somebody, you kill the person farthest
But then
ahead.
you're going to kill somebody else
you.
next turn, so you're still you.
Everyone always kills me.
Because you're so easy to hate.
No, we play secret partner. When we have 6 people, we play secret partners, and you win and lose together.
Playing a 6-person commander game sounds awful.
No. When you play secret partners, it's not. Because people win it, you don't who your partner is, but the rest of the in your partner, you know each other, right? But the rest of the table doesn't know. So I mean, you figure it out before too terribly long in, but it creates much more interesting game states, and people win and lose together. So it's just when it's like somebody instead of being 5 versus 1 or whatever, try to keep somebody from winning, like. When one person can protect that person trying to win or whatever, it actually makes for pretty fun games. But anyways, I mean, I like these effects in Commander a lot. These target opponent loses or
Door 'em out.
All right, I'll jump in. I've also got a Modern Horizons pick, and this card, you might not know it, but with all the Hogak going on, Sarah the Benevolent also saw play in decks that went 5-0 over the past couple weeks on Magic Online. And yeah, that doesn't mean much, blah, blah, blah. But also Sarah, and Modern Horizons is bottomed out, and it has bottomed out at $10. And more specifically, actually, it went to about $9.50 a couple days ago, and has, maybe starting to creep up a little bit. So it feels like we're at the bottom of Sarah the Benevolent here, and it's a $20 to $30 card if it happens to see Modern play, but in a couple years it's going to double in price anyway, so it's not getting any cheaper.
This card, I didn't know it was that cheap, but it shouldn't be that cheap.
Yep. Yeah, Modern Horizons is just, and everyone is going to forget about it. So if you're listening to this podcast, don't let that be you. Scoop them up.
Well, I actually got a little bit of a shock this week. I went to the top EDH commanders to talk about the stuff that was being built the most. And some of the stuff you'd expect is like up there, like everyone's excited about Yarok the Desecrated. Ayula Queen Among Bears is a bit of a meme deck. Morophon is being built a lot. Atraxa is always being built, but Atraxa got knocked all the way down to 8th place. The number one deck being built this week is Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, on the basis
I hate
of
that card.
new ninjas being introduced in Modern Horizons.
Why do you hate that
like
card,
Ingenious.
Have you ever played against a good Yuriko deck?
Yeah, and I steal all their time walks with Galantine. It feels great.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've watched that deck pop off a lot. It's not very fun to play against. It does the same thing every game. I hate playing against that deck.
Yeah. And people are rebuilding it now on the basis of Ingenious Infiltrator and Fallen Shinobi, Mist, Syndicate, Naga, Changeling Outcast, and Moonblade Shinobi. 5 brand new ninjas printed just for that set.
They are cool cards. Yuriko itself is just bad design.
Corbin thinks every card that beats him is bad design.
No, look, I've beaten Yuriko. Look, the Yuriko, it's not, we actually keep track of win rates at our play, or decks that have wins, and it's not like Yuriko wins all the time. It's that the play pattern is the exact same every single time. And it's not fun, right? Like, it's incredibly repetitive in a format that is supposed to be the opposite of repetitive. It's the same reason that they've come out right and said that they don't like Oloro. You know, it's the same reason that Derevi is like banned or whatever in 1v1. Like, it's just repeated ways to cheat costs on commanders are very, very dangerous. And Yuriko is that pushed to the absolute extreme because all it takes is literally any one drop. And then it's turn 2, Yuriko, for the entire game. And sometimes you get their time walks and kill you, and sometimes you wrath the board a bunch and they don't. But like the game never changes. It's never dynamic. So not a fan.
You know what else never changes, Corbin? War. War never changes.
I had no idea where you're going with that.
So you know what does change the price of this card? Thada Adel Acquisitor.
Nice.
Thada Adel is a merfolk, so Corbin likes it. It's a rogue, so DJ likes it. And it's a card that lets you play cards out of their library, so I like it. Thada Adel Inquisitor is about $4, which is about what Thief of Sanity is going for. Both of those are Yuriko cards. But what I like about Thada Adel Inquisitor is that it is very old.
Yep.
It's not super easy to reprint per se, because like I guess they do it in a commander deck, but like where would they do it? It's from World Wake, so it's old. It's got Island Walk, which means it's unblockable to somebody in an EDH game, because when's the last time you sat down with 4 players and nobody had blue in their deck?
Yep.
So Thada Adel basically is unblockable. And when it deals combat to a player, you can search for an artifact, and then you can play that artifact.
I thought it just searched for soul rings.
Yeah, I mean,
steal target soul ring.
I mean, that's perfectly fine, but then you use that Soul Ring mana to play a bigger.
Hey, I'm not complaining. Yeah. I had a Sig River Cutthroat Tribal Rogues deck for about a year and a half, and I don't think I ever searched for a non-Soul Ring card when I connected with Thada Adel.
You always got to start there.
But there's all kind of good stuff that you
I'm
get
not
out of
saying
the deck,
she's bad. I'm just
artifacts.
saying she searches for soul rings.
Sometimes you exile, but also like sometimes you exile their like Altar of Dementia or whatever. You actually exile
and
combo
don't
pieces
play
from their
it,
deck.
and
It's gone forever.
Rings.
So sometimes they have their soul ring in play,
and then you hit somebody else with this.
Yeah, you just attack a different player.
What do you do when you get all the soul rings?
The game's over by that point. The game does. You don't need to attack with Thada Adel when you have 8 soul rings in play, Corbin.
You hit yourself and get
I play this in my zombie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. This is like a $4 card. I mean, with as many people as going to be taking another look at Yuriko, I really think Thada Adel can't stay under $5 for long.
That's a great pick.
And if like it doesn't happen naturally, I'm just gonna go buy a bunch.
That's what we do anyway.
Yeah. We're the
go.
We're the shadowy cabal of MTG financiers, and that's why Seance is $14.
I actually thought it Adele because it has been steadily climbing from 2 to 4 over the past year. Whatever. I think you're right. I think it might
I'm
actually
late
pop.
Is what I'm a year
I think
late.
well you're maybe a week
Corbin
late or whatever.
pick.
But the point is, you buy the card at $4, you're still going to feel great in 2 weeks. I think the card's probably about to pop. Looking at that graph, there's nothing wrong with getting a card 10% off its low. There's just not. And you can go buy these for about $4 right now. But you should buy all your cards on channelfireball.com, which is, of course, the second best place to buy cards.
Are we sponsored by Channel?
I don't know.
Shut up. We're the
Do
only
you wanna
MTG
be?
Finance podcast not sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 place for...
No, look. Channel Fireball is the second best place to buy cards.
Card Kingdom is the #1.
No, the #1 would be Storm Brew Games, LLC on TCG.
Oh my god, really?
You walked into that one. All right, guys, you got anything else you want to talk about this week?
I want to talk about the fact that you can go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery and give us $1 and go on our Discord and get invited to our party at GP Indianapolis in September?
Yep.
Question mark? Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
We will have free drafts going on. We will Magic drafts. We will have free product giveaways. We'll have playmat giveaways. We'll have booster box giveaways. We'll have a lot of cool stuff going on at the party. It'll be free to attend. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Bring yourself.
All right, everybody. Well, until next week, at Brainstorm Brewery, enjoy your pre-release this weekend. Have some fun. It's the summer. Go
Pick
play
up
Magic.
some cards that are under 5 that won't stay there, and think about what cards overperformed for you or for other people. What card blew you out? What card did you like more than you thought you were going to? That kind of stuff informs, like, hey, maybe this is more playable than we thought, and the first couple of weeks standard is going to be what determines the prices on these new cards.
We'll see. It is worth noting that Standard has been incredibly dynamic for a format that by this point of the year is usually completely solved. And I mean, while we know the best decks, there's just a lot of viable decks. So interesting to see if Core Set 2020 shakes that up or not. But man, we're just a couple months away from rotation. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. On a personal note, I'm very glad to be back. We'll see you next week.
On a personal note, DJ and I are not glad Corbin's back.
Fair.
Bye.